I betrayed my husband and now I've lost his trust completely. He won't even let me near him anymore. It was the late 1980s when I met Clara. I had just started working at the local diner, taking the graveyard shift as a cook. My life back then was routine and simple: work hard, save money, and try to stay out of trouble. I didn't expect much beyond that. Clara, though, changed all that. She was a waitress, just out of high school, with an energy that lit up the entire room. Her laughter was infectious and her eyes sparkled with life. I was drawn to her immediately, though I didn't think she'd ever give me the time of day. I was just a cook after all. But Clara had a way of making everyone feel important, and soon enough, we found ourselves talking late into the night. The connection was undeniable. She was smart, funny, and easy to talk to. I found myself spending every shift eagerly awaiting the few minutes we'd have to chat. 2 months later, we went on our first date. It wasn't anything special, just a walk through the park and dinner at a small restaurant. But from that moment on, I knew this was different. I wanted to be with her, and she felt the same. It didn't take long before we were inseparable. Within 6 months we moved in together, and 2 years later we were married. Looking back, I don't know if we really understood what we were committing to, but we were in love, deeply in love. We built our life together, side by side. Work, home, raising 2 kids, and later, enjoying the laughter of our 3 grandchildren. Those first few years were the best, filled with excitement, hope, and dreams of a future we could share. We thought it would last forever. We got married young. Clara was 24, and I was 26. We both came from working-class families, where hard work was valued above all else. I remember the day we found out we were going to be parents. Clara was pregnant with our first child. I was nervous, unsure of how to balance being a good husband and a provider. But we figured it out, like most young couples do. Life, in those early years, was a whirlwind of change. We had 2 children in quick succession. Lily, our daughter, and then Mark, our son. The house was full of love and chaos. Clara was an amazing mother, nurturing and patient. But even in the early years of parenthood, the intimacy between Clara and I began to fade. The demands of parenting were exhausting. I had a physically demanding job, working long hours in the kitchen. It left me tired, often too drained to connect with Clara the way I once had. At first it wasn't noticeable, but as the years passed, we both began to feel the distance. The passion we once shared seemed to be replaced by routine. There were still moments of affection, but they were rare. Clara never complained, but I could sense her growing dissatisfaction. And I too felt the loss. By the time our kids were in school, I had gained weight. I wasn't unhealthy, but I wasn't the lean, energetic man I used to be. And Clarucci had her own struggles. The weight of motherhood and the demands of life had taken a toll on her too. We both started to feel like we were just going through the motions, keeping up appearances, but not truly living. 15 years into our marriage, the intimacy between Clara and me had nearly vanished. Our bedroom had become a place for sleep, not connection. I would lie awake at night, next to Clara, feeling the weight of my body and the heaviness of the silence. It wasn't that I didn't love her, quite the opposite. But something was missing. One day, I realized I had to change. For my health, for my future, for our marriage. I had become complacent, and I knew that if I didn't take control, I would be stuck in a cycle of mediocrity. I started going to the gym, cutting out junk food and paying attention to my health. The first few months were grueling, but something inside me clicked. I wanted to really live, and I wanted to be there for Clara and our kids. Over the next 2 years, I lost 70 kilograms, 154 pounds. It wasn't just about the weight. I had a skin reduction surgery to remove the excess skin that had lingered after my drastic weight loss. The process was both physically and emotionally taxing, but it was also incredibly rewarding. I felt alive again. I had more energy, more confidence, and, most importantly, I felt like the man Clara had married. For Clara, the changes were evident. She saw me working hard every day, and it reignited something in her too. Our intimacy, which had been non-existent for years, slowly started to return. We began to make love again passionately, regularly. She told me how much she loved me, how proud she was of me. I felt the same. We were reconnecting in ways I hadn't thought possible. But, as the months passed, I began to notice something in Clara's eyes. She didn't seem as sure of herself as she once was. She would catch me looking at women when we were out, and though I never acted on it, I could tell she was worried. She had started gaining weight, and despite my reassurances that she was beautiful, I could sense her insecurities growing. She told me she was afraid I would leave her for someone younger, someone thinner. I reassured her every day that it wasn't about her appearance. It was about us, about how I loved her more than I ever had before. Then, the unthinkable happened. Clara went on a weekend trip with her 2 best friends, Sarah and Emily. I didn't think twice about it. She deserved a break. We trusted each other completely. We shared locations on our phones, but it wasn't out of distrust, it was for safety, in case anything ever went wrong. But Clara had no reason to distrust me. I had never given her a reason to. That weekend, everything changed. Clara called me on the second night, crying. She asked if Sarah had spoken to me, and I could tell something was wrong. My heart dropped. She told me what had happened. In a sobbing voice, she admitted that she had cheated on me. She had slept with another man. I pulled over to the side of the road, unable to process what I was hearing. My mind raced, trying to make sense of her words. How could this happen? She told me she was drunk, that it didn't feel like her. She was at a bar with Sarah and Emily when a married couple joined them. The night had blurred into chaos. They drank until 2 a.m., and when the bar closed they went back to the couple's hotel room. The man started touching her, and his wife encouraged it. Clara had gone along with it. The next morning, she woke up in their bed, horrified at what she had done. Sarah had caught her, and Clara confessed everything to her. Sarah insisted she tell me or she would. And so, Clara called. She begged for my forgiveness, but I couldn't find the words. My world shattered. For 2 days, I was numb. I shut down emotionally, refusing to talk to anyone. When I turned my phone back on, there were dozens of messages from Clara, her friends, and my kids. They were all worried about me. I called my children and told them what had happened. They were devastated but supportive. They told me they would be there for me, no matter what I decided. But I had already decided. I sent Clara a text. *, we're getting a divorce. I don't want to hear from you anymore. The pain of betrayal was too much to bear. I never thought that after 30 years she would make that choice. A few days later I spoke to Sarah. The version of events Clara had shared with me was different from what she had confessed to Sarah. Clara had planned the encounter. It wasn't just a random mistake. She had been flirting with the couple for months. They were clients of ours, and Clara had arranged to meet them during the trip. She wasn't as drunk as she had claimed. It was a calculated decision, one that shattered me even more. When Clara came home, she looked broken. She cried and begged for a second chance. But I was resolute. I told her that our marriage was over. There was no going back. We would sell the house and split everything 50-50. She made her choice, and now we all had to live with the consequences. The divorce was finalized after a few months. The house was sold, and I moved into a small apartment near my grandchildren. I needed a fresh start, and being close to them helped heal the wound. Slowly I began to rebuild my life. Clara was still in denial. She called me every day, crying, apologizing, begging for forgiveness. She couldn't accept what she had done, and she couldn't understand why I couldn't forgive her. But I couldn't. Not after everything. The woman I loved was gone the moment she made that choice. And as painful as it was, I knew there was no going back. The healing process was long. I focused on spending time with my children and grandchildren. I started working out again, not to impress anyone, but to take care of myself. The future felt uncertain, but for the first time in years, I felt a flicker of hope. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more interesting stories happening around you.